Congratulations on your new assignment. I know you will continue to serve the country well. And my condolences to the people in Boston. I plan to visit on Friday. I think the response efforts of the Boston Police Department, Fire Department, the people of Boston is a true inspiration. It makes me proud to be an American.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My question has to do with Benghazi. Earlier this year, Secretary Clinton testified, and I asked her about a classified State Department cable marked secret from Ambassador Stevens to the State Department on August the 16th. And in that cable, he essentially warns that the Benghazi consulate could not withstand a coordinated attack, and that's quote unquote. The regional security officer believed that our consulate could not be protected at an emergency meeting, which is a very extraordinary thing, less than a month before the attack on September the 11th. A contingency plan was supposedly drafted to move the consulate operations to a CIA annex about a mile away. And this cable came on the heels of three significant events. One, April 6, 2012, a crude IED was thrown over the wall of the U.S. facility in Benghazi. On May 22nd, the Red Cross building was hit by two RPG mortars by the Brigades of the Blind Sheikh. And June 6th, the U.S. consulate in Benghazi was targeted by an IED attack that blew a hole in the perimeter wall at the Benghazi consulate. Again, the Brigades of the Blind Sheikh take credit and responsibility for this. In written questions after the hearing, I asked the Secretary who in the State Department saw this cable and what specific actions were taken in response. I was disappointed, quite frankly, with her response, and I hope you can do better. Her response simply identified personnel in the Bureau of Diplomatic Security and the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs as having reviewed the cable. But it did not say who received the cable specifically and what specific actions were taken in response to what I consider to be a cry for help from our ambassador to our State Department in Washington that possibly could have prevented that tragic event from occurring. Mr. Secretary, can you tell me which individual or individuals saw this cable and what specific actions were taken?
I can't tell you which one reviewed it because there's a process going on right now which is supposed to come to me very shortly, which is an internal review and analysis of who did what and who may have or may not have made the right judgment or no judgment or whatever. And I have to act on that. So I have not seen that yet, and I don't want to, I'm not going to prejudice anything that I have to do here. I think the Chairman raised the issue of people still working. There's a process. There's a due process. There's an administrative internal process. It will come to me, and I will have to make some kind of a decision. I'm not even sure exactly what the parameters of that are yet because I've waited until it's ripe and comes to me. But I know that it's coming, and I'll then know exactly who made what decision or didn't, and I'll have some responsibility to act one way or the other regarding it.
Well, I appreciate that, but can I have your assurance that you will let this committee know which individuals actually received that cable and,
sure.
And what response was taken?
You have a right to know.
I certainly appreciate that. One last question. This is a sort of a mixture of State Department and the Department of Homeland Security, but recently the Global Entry Program was offered to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is where 15 of the 19 hijackers came out of. I can't think of any greater threat to aviation security than the Saudi Peninsula with Yemen right south of Saudi Arabia. For the life of me, I don't understand why Saudi was given preferential treatment over our NATO allies who fought alongside with our soldiers and fought and died and were wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan. And instead of rewarding NATO, our NATO allies with this global entry, we're rewarding Saudi Arabia. I personally, I'm not trying to be political here, I think it's a dangerous policy, and it could result in American lives being killed.
Just one second.
Thanks.
I'm just trying to determine, and I apologize, but I'm trying to determine who actually makes the final decision on that. And I'm told it's an interagency process, which is, doesn't satisfy me and it won't satisfy you. I need to find out where that final decision gets made. But, and I want to say this in fairness, Saudi Arabia has cooperated with us and is cooperating with us in extraordinary ways. Yeah. There are plots that we have uncovered that have never come to light and won't and shouldn't because of Saudi Arabia's assistance. Saudi Arabia is providing invaluable assistance in the counterterrorism efforts in the Arabian Peninsula. And Saudi Arabia has an extremely effective and has entered into with us a major capacity to vet, to determine the security. And as you know, in the global entry program, you go through a huge background analysis and check. Plus, you have major biometrics that are a component of it. I went through this a year ago or so that I could, join it. And I remember, every fingerprint, every sort of aspect of you is proctologized, and so you wind up with a pretty good sense of who's who. So I personally have confidence in the capacity of Saudi Arabia to do that. And I think I wouldn't prejudice them automatically by virtue of what happened. I'd look at the procedure and check and see what goes into it in fairness.
And I agree. And my time's expired, but I will say, and the Saudis have been extraordinary allies with respect to intelligence. I agree with you on that point. But I do think it merits review by your department as well.
Well, I'll check out on the final review, but I have great confidence in the Saudi Arabian contribution. The kingdom has been very, very helpful in any number of ways.